bonjour, and welcome to the Amateur Detective Club. This club is exactly how it sounds. A bunch of amateurs talking about their favorite mysteries. So if you encounter a real mystery or a murder, contact the proper authorities. Do not come to us. We do not know what we are doing. But enjoy the program. Allons-y. Let us begin.
I now call this meeting of the Amateur Detective Club to order. My name, Tristan Miller, Saucy Sleuth.
I'm Melissa Meli, the spy.
Today's show could be brought to you by Audible. Don't know, still don't know. Go to audibletrial.com/adcpod to find out. Here's the thing.
It's a mystery.
It's a mystery that only you can solve.
Yep.
And also, tweet us some clues. Also, it's certainly not linked to the quote-unquote company bank accounts. Even if you do use the vanity URL, I have no idea how to get that money. I need to figure that out too. We very well could have several $1,000s, and I'm like, I don't know.
Oh, well, wouldn't that be a nice surprise? It's like a treasure hunt.
It is. We're also on the Scavengers Network. Go to scavengersnetwork.com. Check out all their stuff. I was gonna curse, and then it's very late. It's 10 p.m. right now as of this recording. And we're gonna be recording 2 episodes maybe.
We can do it. We just gotta keep on moving.
Mm-hmm.
We can't talk for 2 hours about Star Wars.
Or kissing.
Yeah.
It's always, can I tell you, when you said that, I was like, okay, so let me just quick say running, Star Trek, kissing. Okay, let's just start the episode. Patreon.com/adcpod. Got some bonus content, I was gonna say probably early access for next week. Early access when we can provide it. Our schedules have been bonkers lately. We both have full-time jobs now, which is
Yeah, it's kind of silly having to have a full-time job, but we do, and
we do it for you.
we do everything we do. We do it for you and ourselves a little bit,
but mostly for the money. Where can they find us?
On social media. We're there at ADC Pod. Find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Now, here's my thing.
Sure.
You said on there.
Mm.
Here's the thing. Yeah. Are you getting to where I'm like, is social media a place?
Yes.
Is it?
It feels like it.
It feels like a place. Is it? Whose place? Okay, out of what? Okay, here we go.
Oh, boy.
What relative
Mm-hmm.
does the social media feel like you're visiting their home?
Okay, so Facebook is your weird uncle.
Okay.
Instagram is your cool cousin.
See, I was gonna say hot cousin, so I think we're. I think there's always one. There's always one that you're like, this person's objectively hot. Ugh, what do I do with this? It's me. I'm the hot cousin.
Oh, yeah. In your family, sure. And then there's, so Twitter is...
See, I would say drunk uncle. Teetering from mood to mood and political statement to political statement at wild abandon.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So we have some uncles, or social media are your uncles?
They're your 3 gay uncles.
Not your gay ones.
I don't know. My Twitter's pretty.
Okay, so yeah, if you're on the right part of Twitter,
Yeah.
It's your drunk gay uncle.
Yeah, if you're on the wrong part of Twitter, you should get off of it.
Yeah, and if you're on Facebook, it's probably not your fun gay uncle.
Funkle, if you will.
TikTok
is your younger cousin that you don't understand.
Yeah.
It's all cousins and uncles.
It is.
Oops, all cousin and uncles. This whole situation is cousin and uncles from top to bottom.
That's right.
Doesn't that sound like it should be?
It is now. We just made it that way.
It's when you don't fully understand, when you don't fully relate to someone. Oh, it's all cousins and uncles here. It sounds like a Yorkshire saying.
We love it. And you know what else we love? Only Murders in the Building.
I was going to say, speaking of relatives, this one has a lot of family stuff.
Yeah, it does.
It does. I don't know why I
Ah.
turned into John Lennon, but I did. It
Ah.
does.
Okay.
Okay.
Ooh, this episode.
Yeah.
So this is season 1, episode 7 of called The Boy from 6B.
Nice.
So it starts out, and there's a little boy under a table, and Nathan Lane, also
a
known
mustache.
as Teddy Demas, is... Oh, he doesn't have his mustache yet in this.
Oh, he doesn't?
No. 'cause
Okay,
it's
so
a,
they
it's
do
a
it.
flashback.
They do it to denote different times, and
Mhm.
I was sure which. I got confused as to which was mustache time.
Yeah, no, there's no, yeah. So this is from the point of view of the little boy from under the table. And he sees his dad, Nathan Lane, Teddy Demas, listening to a record on headphones.
Have you ever done that?
A record on headphones?
Yeah.
No, I don't believe I
Oh,
have.
it's so fun.
Yeah, I bet.
You can hear the crickle crackle.
Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
You love a record. Teddy is listening to Carousel, and he's signing. So this episode is worth noting, has only one line of spoken dialogue.
Yes, and they do some very good things to make sure that happens.
Yeah.
It's very well orchestrated.
Yeah, I'd say so, in the metaphorical sense of the term.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of signing with captions, and there's actually some conversation with captions that happens that is not heard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Due to because this whole episode is from the point of view of Teddy Demas.
Theo Demas.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay. They're both nicknames for Theodore.
Yes, they are.
Of course. So,
So and Theo is deaf.
yes.
And so Nathan Lane in this flashback, little baby Theo comes over and Teddy puts the headphones on him
Yeah.
and is signing My Boy Bill
From Carousel.
from Carousel, the only song from Carousel I know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was wondering if you knew this.
Yeah, and I just go ahead.
It's actually called Soliloquy.
Yes.
Right.
You're right. The only reason I know it is because I've seen Hugh Jackman's Inside the Actors Studio.
Oh.
My boy Bill will be time. That's what he sounds like. I don't know what to tell you. Which is so weird that voice comes out of someone who sounds like this most of the time.
Sure.
And then he starts singing and he sounds completely
He
different.
sounds like a trumpet, that man.
Yeah, because okay, this is a small tangent. You know why? He was not good at singing at all. He took singing lessons, and then he's not getting it. And his voice teacher goes, "I just do it like this," and then he just mimics that back, and that's how he sings. And I was like, as someone who also does that, I respect it immensely.
Sure.
But anyway, Theo has these headphones on, and Teddy keeps cranking up the music to try and make him hear, and he can't, and
Yeah.
it overwhelms Theo. And Teddy becomes very quickly apologetic. But you get the sense that this is really hard for Teddy.
Yeah. It's really hard for Teddy that his son is deaf. And
Also, I'd assume, for Theo.
right, of course. And so it's also really interesting, the song choice and the portion of the song that they chose.
Yes.
Because My Boy Bill, I will see that he's named after me. I
Yes.
will. And as we just noted,
Mm-hmm.
Teddy and Theo are both nicknames for Theodore.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, there's certainly a certain amount of like, it sounds like Teddy is hearing himself in this music.
Yes, and there's also a thematic element of that throughout the whole episode of trying to be like your father,
Mm-hmm.
or no, just and your father reckoning with that. And it's this really interesting version of a coming of age story.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
I was going to save this till the end to talk about, but I want to note here because there are a few people that sign in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And Nathan Lane and the actress who plays Zoe, whose name is escaping me at the very moment, do a really wonderful job. To give a little sneak peek into some characters we're going to be seeing in this, but yeah, those two actors do a really lovely job signing, and I'm very curious about them because I don't know how they came by their experience with ASL.
I mean, it's kind of like a dialect.
It is, yeah.
Or like learning a language for anything else. Obviously, it's a language. I learned it because Stephen, who went to my church growing up, is deaf. And so we all learned it. And God bless my pastor for trying. He would try to do some of like the benedictions in sign language, and I didn't realize you could have a stutter in ASL.
Sure, of course.
And it's just like he was just not good at it, but like the effort was being attempted, and we all saw that, which was nice. But like, yeah, we all took an ASL course. It's really interesting as well because I've bumped into people who also know a little ASL, and there's disagreements over what signs mean what because there are dialects, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
Because if you go, because obviously it's American Sign Language, not, British Sign Language is completely different.
Right.
Well, not completely, but like is different.
Yeah.
Which I think is something that I don't think a lot of people think about.
Absolutely. I have a good friend who is learning to be an ASL interpreter.
Oh, yeah.
And she has helped give me some good perspective on learning ASL and about all sorts of different things having to do with it. And, she encourages folks to, learn from deaf teachers. And you also have to learn about like the deaf community really to like get a full understanding of the language because there really is a rich community and like it helps in the knowledge of learning this language. It's not just being able to, learn a couple signs and you're good.
Yeah. Much in the same ways, like, I mean, you can learn conversational French, but you should really know there's so many other contexts.
Yeah.
To any language. What's interesting as well about the deaf community, they were like the first kind of group of people with a disability to really form a community surrounding that and connected in America, at least. And that's trickled down into so many other avenues. And that really, I believe, happened from my understanding, like the 70s and early 80s. And it's really trickled down into like people being more aware of like even things like autism and really accepting people for going, oh, these people are different, but we don't need to fix it.
Sure.
Whereas I think for a very long time, and we see this in the episode, there's an attitude towards there's something wrong with this person and I wish I could just fix this thing, and that's why this is difficult. And that's why it's difficult. You get the feeling that's why it's difficult for Teddy, is he wants his son to be correct in his mind.
Yeah. So Theo is played as an adult Theo is played by James Caverly.
Okay.
Who is deaf. So.
Yeah.
I was very much hoping while I was watching this episode that we weren't going to that we were going to have a hearing person playing a deaf character, which, less than desirable because there's nothing to say that a deaf actor can't play. Can't be in movies or TV. Yeah. So I was glad that they that they did that work. So we have this beautiful scene, this upsetting scene between younger Theo and younger Teddy.
It's also beautiful because it's really well acted, and clearly Teddy does care for his son and he doesn't know what to do. That's always what's heartbreaking, is when you see someone not knowing what to do, specifically a parent, because parents are always supposed to know what to do.
Yeah. So we then see adult, today Theo watching through a window in binoculars, spying on Charles, Oliver, and Mabel. And
I get it. Bunch of sexy people.
Yeah, right?
He's a pervert.
So we get these subtitles saying Charles says he has a date later. Like, do we have the plan? We're gonna break in, but we can't be seen or heard. We got stuff to do.
Yeah.
So can't take all night.
And Theo's reading lips. Which is another thing that I don't think a lot of people think about when they're doing signing, is a lot of people are like, well, why are you mouthing the words? I'm like, well, a lot of deaf people can read lips. And also, if they're younger, you're teaching them to read lips.
Yeah. My ex-boyfriend, his older sister, she became deaf after an illness when she was a kid. So she once was hearing. And she became very adept at reading lips. And she also spoke, because, she grew up talking. So, but of course she also knew ASL. So my ex was actually the one in the family who learned ASL the best to speak to her. But he also routinely would just mouth words to her, and she would just respond. And
that's got to be a very interesting thing to see.
It is.
Yeah.
Like, he would do things like tell her what he got me for Christmas while I was standing right there. It's like, all right.
That's fun. That's very cute.
Yeah, it is cute. They had and I'm sure still do have a very lovely dynamic.
So they're sneaking somewhere. Okay, so this is what's happening. Oliver is distracting Teddy to get him out of the apartment.
Yep.
So that Mabel and Charles can sneak in to find clues, because he's their prime suspect now.
Yeah.
While that is happening, Theo also breaks into Charles's apartment.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yes, Charles's apartment, where all of the pin boards are and stuff.
Yeah.
This is the sequence of events that happens. I don't recall anything particularly noteworthy other than it gets tense, because both of the, when they're sneaking around, you think people are going to come home and this sort of thing.
Yeah. Oliver is trying to get Teddy out to go to lunch at Sardi's, which is, I imagine, a little bit of a commute. And also, sitting down to lunch at a restaurant in the theater district is a whole thing.
And he goes, no, I told you, 30 minutes, cup of coffee around the street.
Yeah.
I gotta say, the way Nathan Lane New York's it up in this role is really fun.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I've seen him talk, and he does have a little bit of that accent because he's lived here long enough. But he really, he's like, hey, I'm talking to you like this.
Oh, yeah,
it's
yeah.
really fun.
He leans right into it.
Yeah.
We then get Theo, to the camera.
Oh, yeah.
Right in the cold open, he goes to the camera and he signs, people talk too much in this city.
Yeah. So, you know how sometimes when we watch an episode of Poirot and you're like, they speak a little Italian, you're like, oh, I speak a little Italian. That was me with this whole episode.
Great.
Yeah. Because I was like, it was also interesting because I watched the show with subtitles anyway. And so I was like, these subtitles look different. What happened?
Yeah.
So Theo obviously finds and takes pictures of all their board. And then Mabel and Charles find a secret room.
Yeah, he has a false bookshelf.
A false bookshelf full of urns.
Right, the room is full of urns.
Yes, the bookshelf is not.
Right.
But there are shelves of urns.
Yes, true.
But they're not bookshelves of urns. They're just normal shelves of urns. They're urn shelves of urns, if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it becomes very tense because Theo comes home. Mabel and Charles hide behind a door. Theo goes into the other room. They sneak out. And they switch elevators. Like, one elevator door opens, Mabel and Charles get in. The other one opens, and Teddy comes out.
We flash back to it's also very cute to note that Oliver, when he's warning them, he's sending them text messages saying the overture is playing, people.
Which is like
he's using theater term.
And the other thing is this, like, you don't have a lot of time. Overture is a long word, my guy. Just say, we're coming back.
Yeah, right.
This is the Anglo-Saxon part of English that we need more often. We are coming back.
So, Teddy comes back into the apartment and sees Theo is there.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, I really wish we've talked about this. Can you just tell me when you're going to be here?
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, you have your own apartment. I know I paid for it.
Yeah, which is very rude.
Yeah.
Charles has also left behind a glove.
Yeah, one rubber glove.
Theo has discovered it.
Mm-hmm. And so Theo's trying to tell Teddy, like, they're onto us. We're suspects. Mm-hmm. And he's showing him the pictures from his phone. And Theo's like, listen, I've got Oliver so deep in my pocket, we don't have to worry about this.
There's a banger of a line, though.
Mm-hmm.
And because Teddy signs to Theo, what, you're into podcasts now? Which is so mean.
Yeah.
But very funny.
Yeah.
And also, here's something that's so interesting about... Specifically, Nathan Lane does a really beautiful job. Because, like, obviously, what was the fella that plays Theo's name?
James Caverly.
James, obviously, I've never heard his voice.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when Nathan Lane signs, when I read the subtitles, I hear it in his voice.
Me too.
And so it's like, oh, what, you're into podcast? Like, it's so good. He does such a great job really bringing himself to it, which is, like, again, I am also curious as to his experience beforehand, because he does it, again, like, if he just learned it for this show, well done.
Oh, yeah. Like, I can't imagine. It really does feel like Nathan Lane has some experience with sign language. And I'm very, like, I want to know about that. I was trying to find a little bit more information about the episode. And I did learn some interesting things about it. But the questions that I had that weren't answered were, like, have these people, learned sign language prior to this? I mean, other than obviously our lead in this episode, James Caverly.
You know what I learned watching this episode? I want Selena Gomez to throw me across a room. That's what I learned. That's what I keep relearning.
Teddy is trying to, dismiss the concerns. Like, you don't have to look after me. I look after you.
Yeah, he says, I'm the one that fixes things. Remember?
Yeah.
Which is, I love, again, he really New Yorks it up.
Yeah.
And then there's a flashback, right?
Yes.
To the party.
Yes.
Well, not the party, them breaking in first.
Right.
Because they, the Hardy Boys break into the Demas' apartment, and Zoe. I was like, there's a Z someplace.
Yeah.
Zoe steals a ring while Theo is hiding in the urn shelf closet. And there's a little peephole, and she sees, and she signs to him that, whatever. Because she does say, I think he's hot, even though he's deaf, which is like, that's a messed up thing to say.
Yeah, she says, Greek guys have the nicest eyes. And, of course, her Oscar is her boyfriend at this juncture. And he's like, I'm right here.
And she's like, I don't care.
Whatever.
Yeah, which is indicative of both of their personalities. But she makes eye contact with with Theo through the peephole, and
Yeah.
so he lets her take a ring from them.
Yeah.
From the house.
Right.
Yeah.
And she signs, I meant it about you being hot.
Mm-hmm.
Oliver and Mabel have gotten the information for this funeral home.
Yeah,
because all the urns have the name of a funeral home on the bottom of them.
The brand is strong.
It is.
No, I'm just imagining an urn that does have the Pepsi logo on it. And then they go, oh yeah, I got it for real cheap. How much was it? $1? And I had to drink the Pepsi that was inside. It's just a 2-liter.
Oh, yeah.
Your ashes are just unceremoniously put in a 2-liter of Mountain Dew.
My God. Oh, what a wild thing to think of.
Yeah.
Charles is getting ready for his date with Jan, played by Amy Ryan. And he's very cute, fussing, putting on a blazer.
Yeah, he's wearing some outfit that made me go, oh, good for him. He's like in a very fun, is it like a purple plaid blazer or something like that?
No, it's just a gray blazer, but he's wearing a nice sweater and it's a pretty good look.
Yeah, I feel like, okay, so with the costuming of the show, as much as we keep going on and on and on and on and on about
It's very good.
I truly do think, because I have Steve Martin's masterclass, right?
Mhm.
And I've seen photos of Steve outside in the wild, a wild Steve. You know, he has cards that say, you've just met Steve Martin, right? If you stop him on the street. Yeah, he used to have business cards that said Steve Martin, entertainer, ordinaire. He's a very funny guy. I don't know if you know this, Steve Martin, pretty funny.
I really need you to watch his dating game episode.
Yeah, you should send it to me.
Yep.
That's the only reason I haven't, because I keep forgetting that you said it happened. But I get the feeling that everyone was like, these are things I own. What can we get that's like it?
Okay.
Because from what I understand of, like, that's kind of just how Steve dresses.
That makes sense.
And that's kind of how Martin just dresses. And I would not be surprised if that's just how Selena dresses.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the reasons they all look so good, is because they're like, yeah, this is what I look good in.
Right. And clearly the show has like a design concept and like there's a designer behind these things.
Absolutely.
And, like, there's a color palette too.
The amount of turtlenecks these people are in. Anyway, he's getting ready, and then Jan shows up, and
then we cut to Theo leaving the building. And he's getting into the elevator, and he does a flashback. He's very anxious.
He does a flashback. I love that. I'm doing a flashback right now to earlier this morning when I was making coffee, meaning I'm remembering something.
Yeah. So these flashbacks in this episode are done really well. I mean, they all are in all of the show, but in this episode in particular, Theo's flashbacks are like he goes into a room and then he remembers something that happens in that room.
Yes, it almost feels like a video game sometimes.
Yeah.
Where you've triggered a quick time event.
Exactly. And so he gets into the elevator and he has
this scene's
and
good.
we do a memory.
Hey folks, you ever do a memory?
So the memory is that
All Alone in the Moonlight. There's one for you.
Thank
See,
you.
I know
Thank
a little bit.
Which composer did that one now?
Oh, it's not Sondheim.
Right, it's the other one.
It's the other one because he's a pervert.
Oh, goodness.
What is his name?
Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Thank you. Oh, my God.
Oh, and speaking of musical theater, Carousel, soliloquy that we were talking about earlier is Rodgers and Hammerstein.
That I did know deep.
Yeah, the other ones.
The other ones.
So another year, another moment when Theo was in the elevator. He is with his dad, and his dad is all dressed up in a tux with Theo's holding champagne. Looks like New Year's Eve. And then
It truly does.
see Oscar and Zoe.
Yes, and they're dressed. Zoe's dressed up in like a flappers
She really is. It's
deal.
kind of amazing, honestly.
Yeah.
She has like a cool sequin hat on. It's
Mhm.
great.
She does have a face of a flapper.
She does. And the haircut.
And the haircut to boot.
Yeah, she has
Is
the short...
Oscar in costume?
It's not a... Yeah, no. She's just wearing a fun dress, and it's kind of styled, and Oscar is...
And is he even in a suit?
No.
Oh!
He's not wearing a tie. He's a little dressed up for New Year's, but
right.
like...
That seems so... That's always bothers me when couples seems to dress incongruously.
I have to correct myself.
Okay. For the first time on the podcast.
Ever. He is wearing an overcoat, and it does seem like he's wearing a suit.
Okay.
He is wearing... It's black on black, which is very, very sharp. Good look. But he is wearing... So the thing is, like, his overcoat is clearly not like a nice overcoat. It's just like the one he has, which is good costuming, because that's probably what he would... Yeah. He would probably have one coat. And he's wearing like a knit cap, like a beanie. Mm-hmm. So it does make him... The reason I didn't first track he was in a suit is because the hat kind of makes him look like he's not dressed up.
He's truly Daniel Day-Lewising it.
Okay.
Do you remember when Philip Seymour Hoffman wore a beanie to the Oscars?
Yeah, I do remember that.
God rest his soul.
Yeah. So they get in the elevator.
I'm sorry, and we were all like, "This is crazy." That was the weirdest part of it. It's like, it's just a hat.
It's true.
It's just, out of all the things that are happening at the Academy Awards, wearing a beanie is not the craziest one.
Truly. So somehow the way they get in the elevator, Theo and Zoe are standing next to each other in the back, and Zoe's standing behind Teddy, and Theo is standing behind Oscar. Okay. So this is important because she is flirting with Theo.
Yes, and she also pretends to muss up Teddy's hair, showing off the ring.
Right.
And then she grabs Theo's butt. And here's the thing. Mm-hmm. I had to make sure where she grabbed him twice. I had to rewind. I was like, did she just grab his frontal area in an elevator?
Yeah. What I actually thought was that she put her hand in his pocket. No, it's his butt.
Yeah, she grabs his butt because then she like spider walks her fingers up to his hair and plays with his hair.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay. Because that, like, switching around sides would be a bit much. I understand grabbing someone's butt and then tousling their hair.
Yeah. So she signs, and she's wearing this ring, by the way, is a gigantic, like...
So big.
It's a huge green stone, probably an emerald. And so as she's getting off the elevator, she signs to him, Happy New Year.
And then Teddy stops the elevator. Yeah. And there's a tense moment. And then he goes, oh, he signs, you know ASL? Right. And she goes, yeah, my cousin is deaf. Mm-hmm. And then...
He nods to her all friendly like, lets the elevator door close. And he turns to Theo and says, that ring.
Yeah.
What did you do?
Yeah, and he actually pushes Theo as well, which is, like, not okay.
Yeah.
And that made me upset.
Yeah. So basically, you know, he didn't miss it. So then he gets out of...
Which, that little exchange is so nice. Because, like, there's a moment where you're like, oh... Because it's, like, obviously, it's so big, you can't not notice it, Teddy. Right. And then you're like, wait, did he miss that? What?
Right, exactly.
It's very well acted.
So well acted.
Yeah. And obviously well written to be put in there in the first place.
Yeah. So then he gets out of the elevator and it's present day.
Yes.
And then we get
also known as Christmas. Ha!
Made a little Christmas Carol reference there.
No, I just thought I was making a pun.
What? Wait.
Present?
Oh.
Like a gift?
Okay. And that was a little journey I had to take. Okay. So we see Mabel and Oliver at this funeral home, sitting at a funeral, and Oliver pretends to cry.
And Mabel is like, no one else is doing that. She shakes her head no at him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then a cart filled with urns pass, and they both lean, and then Oliver leans so far he falls off
It's
out
so
of his
good.
seat. And it did make me laugh out loud. And then it's very quickly well played, because he did it on, like, Oliver did it on purpose.
Yeah.
And so he's like, oh, let's go to the bathroom and, like, get you cleaned up. And then they obviously just follow the cart.
Yeah.
But, like, it's so unexpected to see someone fall down.
Yeah.
I will say this, on stage last Friday, I forgot my place.
Mhm.
And so what I decided to do was fall down. It did not get a reaction, which was funnier than if it had.
That is very funny.
Yeah, it just, like, I just fell down. There were, like, a couple of titters from the back, but most people were like, is this person okay? And I'm like, that's understandable, like, because some comedians show up and they're on heroin, so I get it.
Sure. No, that was a joke. I mean, that was a bit for yourself.
Yeah, a little bit. And it was also like, I forgot where I was gonna go, so I was like, I just paused
Yeah.
and then fell down. It was very fun.
So they're looking around. They're in this like basement room. They're trying to figure out what's going on
A
here.
morgue. I
Yeah.
guess embalming room.
Yeah. Gosh, it's remarkable how many shows I watch where that embalming is involved in. What does that
It's the
say about me?
algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
So they're peeping around this place, and then all of a
Mhm.
sudden someone shows up and they have to hide, and it's Theo, and he takes some jewelry off one of the corpses
Mm-hmm.
and puts it in a bag, and Mabel texts Oliver. What is it? What is the autocorrect? It's she goes, Theo is a grave, like, gobbler, and
Yeah.
and Oliver texts back, how are you having a stroke? And she goes, grave robber. Grave,
Yeah.
like, she texts back, and he's like, oh, I'm like, that's something I want you to know. I
Mhm.
want to know your opinion, rather.
Mm-hmm.
I will, if I mistype something, just fucking, pardon me, I'll just leave it. Because I was like, context clues, you could probably figure out what I meant.
Oh, I have a very dear friend who,
Me.
my friend Caitlin, who wouldn't mind me saying this.
Hi, Caitlin.
Hi, Caitlin.
Hope
Yeah,
you're
she's
doing okay.
yeah. She said she's downloaded the Only Murders episodes of our podcast, so hopefully she's listening to this.
Zoot to lower.
So Caitlin is often very busy and sends a text without rereading it back. I have become very adept at understanding what she is saying, even if she is some
Perfect.
really bizarre autocorrects. This has only gotten more pronounced since she has had a child.
That makes sense.
Because she's often typing with one hand. Every once in a while, I have to be like, Caitlin, let's go back.
Do not understand. Theo catches Mabel and Oliver.
He does.
And then we cut to Charles and Jan sitting in a tree playing Scrabble. And so the first thing he spells out, Charles spells out, is hard. And I was like, I swear to God, if they put, and then Jan puts wet. And I was like, oh, you went there. And then they do this back and forth a little bit.
Yeah, they like, it's like they're sexting, except they're playing Scrabble in person.
Yeah, and it's great. And
It's so good.
and they're just listening to music and playing Scrabble. And it's, again, really well designed to be like, well, you don't need to be talking.
Right.
It's actually cuter and more fun and sexier if you don't talk doing this. It's very fun and charming.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not a bad date. It's a pretty good date.
That's a really good date.
Sexy Scrabble.
Better than Sexy Twister, because you don't have to move except for your little hands.
Yeah. And their faces during it. Like,
Oh, Steve? Some very funny, horny faces from Steve Martin in this episode.
yeah.
Obviously, they make the beast with two backs.
Okay. All right. Good. Okay. Getting some Shakespeare in here.
Yep.
You know what play that's from?
It's from Othello.
That's right.
Because the reason I know that is because the character is Iago, so obviously it's gonna be Gilbert Gottfried going, and then they're making the beast with two backs.
because he plays the bird Iago in Aladdin.
That's correct.
Great.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I used to do a whole bit on stage. It did not go over. Because people were like, this is... You have to understand so many cultural references.
Yes. Yeah.
Killed at the family reunion, though.
Yeah. Of course. Absolutely. Okay. So we actually did it a
flashback,
little bit out of order.
Oh, beans.
So now my little episode that I'm scrubbing through has come to Mabel's text message, which I can now say is Teddy is a gray Roger.
Gray Roger, thank you very much.
Yeah.
There's another flashback, though, a very important one. And is that the only piece of information we're currently missing other than the conclusion of the episode?
Yes.
Okay.
So we see Mabel at the party with the like feather in her hair, drinking from a red Solo cup, and people are wearing sparkly outfits. And
I did gasp, audibly.
so we see Oscar and Zoe having a fight, and
All right.
oh, she is mean.
She is mean.
And so we're seeing this from Theo's point of view, who's reading their lips again. Some of it says inaudible, but he comes up to them, and she
Inaudible.com, trial.com/
yeah, she says, "I'm so bored of you. It's like I'm dating the help." And she oof, and Oscar says, "Oh, what did you just say?"
Yeah, that's not, because the movie's not good. It's quite an insult.
He
You remember the movie The Help?
I do. I got it. I got your I get what you're saying. So he says, "That's it. I'm done."
Yeah.
So
And he storms off.
he storms off and leaves her by
As well he should. So they do this really great thing in this next scene, in this flashback, but specifically over the entirety of the show so far, where it makes it really easy for Zoe to be dead because she's such a bitch. And it makes it easier to be like, well, I feel sad for Oscar.
yeah.
It's very Murder, She Wrote.
Yes. And you can also see why Theo was interested.
Oh, absolutely.
Because first of all, she's hot.
She
Second
is.
of all,
She's very cute.
yeah. Second of all, like, she does sign to him.
And they do hang out. It's inferred that they've spent time together. They're friends.
Kind of.
She says they hang out explicitly in this scene.
Oh, okay. You're
and
right.
then also they would have to have, she knows his name, that he's Greek, that they know each other from the building.
Yes, at least from the building. So he comes over to her after Oscar is gone. And they're signing with each other. And she says, she's also, by the way, the actress does a very good job here. Because she is clearly drunk.
Yes.
It is very, very obvious that she is drunk. And she says, "Oh, the boy from 6B. Go away, boy from 6B. I am not good company."
The titular character.
Yeah. So Theo says, "Did you just break up?" And she says, "I'm not sure. I never know till the next day with Oscar."
That's never good.
Yeah, it's not. And he says he's not good for you.
And she says a banger of a line.
Yeah.
Which is, "I wasn't aware that boys were supposed to be good for me."
Yeah.
And I'm like, ooh, damn, that is so many people's experience. Way to go. Good line, whoever wrote that one.
Oh, so good. Yeah, she does say, not that I don't enjoy our hangs, the quiet and the loud ones, which is an interesting thing for her to say, because I wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, I am assuming that it means like being in a, a party mode versus not, then also kind of the inference of like the quiet one being like we, saw each other when you were in hiding in your own home,
Right.
which is also a weird thing that Theo does do, whereas like I would be like, what are you guys doing
Yeah. Yeah. So in the last episode, you asked me, oh, because I told you that I really liked this episode, and you said,
Yeah.
oh, is the boy from 6B cute?
Mm-hmm.
And I said that he didn't do it for me. I'm sorry. I was incorrect. He is very cute.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
charming.
Yeah.
Also, here's another thing. There's a moment where he smiles at Zoe, and I went, they did such a good shot. He looks so much like Nathan Lane in one
Oh.
shot, and I was like, wow, they did really good casting.
I mean, yeah, absolutely.
I was like, wow, way to go.
But yes, so he does gently say he's being very, very sweet with her.
Yes.
But he does say, I'm sorry, I do need that ring back. My dad needs
Yeah, he
it
saw.
back."
Jigs up.
And she says, this is infuriating. Whatever, it's not like you proposed with it or anything.
Yeah.
And which is very like just keeping him on a, she wants him to like her.
Mm-hmm. But does not want to do anything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Which, like, if you want that in your brain, that can happen in your brain. It's not a great feeling, but like human beings are human.
Mm-hmm.
But geez, don't do this. But she's a teenager, I guess, and she's not particularly nice. So she gives it back to him, and he says, I'll get you a real ring someday if you want.
And she starts laughing at him.
Yeah.
Which could be fine, but it's not. Because that's a shockingly sweet thing to say. Specifically
Right.
with seeing how much they interact.
Yeah.
It's like they kind of out of the blue. It's like I'm literally maybe still with Oscar. You know what I mean? So it's understandably to be taken aback by it, but she's quite rude about it, and then it escalates.
Right. And it's the way she laughs as well. It's
Yeah.
not like, yeah. I mean, and she then follows it up with like, guys usually let you keep the ring before they try to lock you down. She does say, I'm such a bitch, I'm sorry. But like,
yeah. Very good, again, also drunken lines of like,
Yeah.
because it's this, drunk people are so infuriating because they'll have little moments of self-awareness
Yes.
like that and then
Mhm.
go back to being drunk.
yeah. She says she's bored, and he says maybe you're bored because all you have is touring through other people's lives.
Which is, again, another banger of a line. This scene, very
Yeah.
well written.
And yeah, he's trying to be helpful, and she tells him not to she gets mad.
Yeah, she
says,
gets,
don't psychoanalyze me.
and then she starts pushing him away,
Yeah, and
and then trips and falls over the side of the...
they're having, she's pushing him a bit, and then
She just slips and falls over the side of the roof.
yeah, pretty much. I mean, because I've watched this scene a number of times, and
Yeah.
I've tried to figure out if he pushed back a little bit.
He does that thing, which is what you're supposed to do, which is you flex a little bit when someone's pushing you to
Yeah.
bounce them back, but not really. He is very much...
Yeah.
It's also a sad reflection of the way his father treats him, like, literally hours before.
Yeah.
So it's this weird moment of, like, he's almost finally sticking up for himself, but then this terrible thing happens accidentally.
Yeah, this ledge is not even waist high, and it's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it cuts over in Tim Kono's scene, everything.
Yep.
And then we cut to Teddy in his apartment doing, like, just sitting around doing something. And then Theo runs in and is sobbing and is upset and vomits.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's great, because that's exactly what would happen.
Yeah.
And he's crying and he's really worked up. Some great emotional acting from James, and also Nathan signs to him, I need to know 3 things.
Yeah. How bad?
How bad?
And he just sobs in response.
Yeah, to the first 2.
Are you responsible?
Mm-hmm.
More sobbing. And did anyone see?
Yeah, right. And did anyone see? And then is the next scene him confronting
Tim Kono.
Tim? Yeah. Basically threatening to kill either Tim or Mabel if Tim says what he saw.
Right. Basically, he says, listen, everyone saw Oscar arguing with her.
Yeah. And it's be like, it literally doesn't, it'd be a real shame if all of a sudden something were to happen to you, like what happened to Zoe, or to happen to your friend, what's her name? And then he turns to Theo, who spells out Mabel.
Yeah.
And that's a real betrayal. That's just, ugh.
Yeah.
What's really great about the Demuses is you want to like both of them very much.
Yep.
Because they're very well acted and there's a lot of complicated things going on with them, but they're also both such bastards.
Yeah, they are sympathetic.
Mm-hmm. It's
And-
not Mouse Hunt.
No, but like especially Theo,
Oh yeah.
because like this is what he came from, but also Teddy's trying to protect his son.
Yeah.
And most people are not going to take it to or I will kill your friends, but like there's going to be a lot of effort to protect. So,
But yeah, he's absolutely protecting his son, and that's absolutely admirable, but he's doing it in such a corrupt way, and that's what's so compelling about it. It's really 2 really well-written characters.
so good.
And for them to be like not even the leads and get this much depth,
Yeah.
what a gift.
Yeah.
And also the turnaround from last week, where he's literally writing them a check to keep doing the podcast, to then being like this whole thing and learning all of this.
Yeah.
Very good emotional whiplash from the series. Very well paced.
Yeah. So we see that Theo has caught Mabel and Oliver,
Yes.
and they are in the back of a van that he
Yeah.
was driving. And then we cut to Charles.
Hayden Savage.
That's the one. Brazos. TV's Brazos.
Get to that later.
And yeah. And and so Charles and Jan are in bed. They are asleep. Charles is waking up. His phone's going off.
And you can tell that it was a good time because he doesn't remember where his pants are.
Yeah, that's
That's
how you
the
know.
mark of like, that was some choice loving.
Yeah. So he has like a remarkable amount of missed calls and texts.
I believe 11 and then like 20 something in the group chat.
Like a concerning amount.
Yeah. All from Oliver, the calls are.
Right, of course, because Mabel doesn't call.
Of course not. It feels like a text.
78 messages.
78.
So he's rapidly scrolling through the messages, and the last one is Mabel. And she says, Tim's phone, the password, try Theo. Try Theo. And intercut is Teddy gets a text from Theo. They know. They've seen everything.
Mm-hmm.
Then cut back to Charles, who runs to get Tim Kono's phone. Oliver and Mabel are rolling around in the back of this van.
Tied up.
Blindfolded.
In a way that does get fixed immediately in the next episode, but
It's scary.
oh no, Theo doesn't know what he's doing.
Oh, yeah, also that.
Yeah, you can see. I was like, all you'd have to do is wiggle your eyebrows to get out of that one.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna spoil something for next episode. The first thing that Oliver does is just like pushes he
pushes
takes
the
his little
yeah.
hands and pushes the blindfold off, and I was like,
Yeah. But then Charles types Theo into his phone. And he says the only line of the episode. We did it. And then actually, My Boy Bill plays.
You'll be tall and as tough as a tree, is what I hear.
Yep.
So what'd you think about this episode, Melissa?
I love this episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's...
Why don't you marry it?
I would if I could.
Would you lick this episode?
Oh, yeah.
When I was editing the pod, I lost my mind. Golly.
This episode's so good. It is, because I was doing some research on it. I went to the IMDb page, and out of all the IMDb ratings for these episodes, this is the highest rated. A lot of the, articles that I was reading were saying the best episode of Only Murders in the Building is also the one that has the least dialogue. Something that's actually very interesting about it is there was more dialogue in it. And the writer and Steve kind of got together and were like,
we don't need this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they kept cutting it out. And it's like, good. Good. It reminded me a little bit of my first semester of directing class.
When I watched this, I was like, Melissa is going to bring up her first semester of directing class. And I literally thought that.
Where we couldn't use any words. No, but this is the kind of thing why, because when you're doing something strong enough, you don't need it. And it is so strong. Everyone does such a great job. It is so compelling to watch. 6 out of 5. Like, I freaking love it. It's so good.
I really enjoyed it as well. We watched some silent movie in drama school, and I get really excited at silent films. And my teacher's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "Well, it cuts through all the bullshit because you just see what's happening. You don't need dialogue is the thing, specifically in a motion picture. You don't need it, and I think a lot of people forget that. Like the fact that there are 2 solid laugh moments of Oliver just falling down. It's very unexpected.
Yeah.
And then what you're into podcast now, even though that is a line, it's not said. It's still a good episode, comedically, despite the lack of dialogue, which the dialogue is generally in this show is pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't think it's my favorite so far, though. I would still say the pilot is probably my favorite. But maybe it's because it's the first exposure or whatever. It's very good, very strong performances. One editing thing that drove me nuts, though.
Oh, okay.
When Theo's coming out of the closet after Teddy says, "I'm the one that fixes things." They either decided that we needed to see the light turn off in the closet before he left, which we don't.
Right.
Or there are 5 frames accidentally still in this episode. It's a weird edit. And I had to go back 3 times to figure out what the hell had just happened.
Okay.
And I'm sure it was a choice in the editing room. They didn't have coverage or they needed something. I don't know. But it really just
interesting.
Drop me out. I'll show it to you if you want. But I don't know, probably 4.5. It's a really solid episode. One of the show's strongest components is that all the humor and all the story is relationship based and connecting with people.
Yes.
And I think that is one of the strongest parts of it, and you really see it in this episode rather than it's almost doesn't matter that they're solving a murder case at this point.
Right.
Because we like these people, which is so impressive because as much as I love Poirot, I like Poirot everyone else can kind of just whatever. It's watching Poirot put it together that's fun. Or like if you're watching like Columbo or Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah.
It's more about the case and just the one detective. Whereas like this is such a strong, all the relationships are so strong, and all the reasons why people are doing things make total sense.
Yeah.
They're very clear. I will say this is the episode where I learned that Teddy also lives in the Arcarnia. That was not clear to me at all. I did not know they were neighbors until this episode.
Okay.
Yeah, just missed that. Just did not understand that he also lived in the same building.
Oh. So when they went to his apartment.
Yeah, I assumed he like went took a taxi someplace to another apartment building. It wasn't clear to me at all. So when they started doing all this stuff, I was like, oh, great episode though.
Yeah, it's a truly great episode. Like, really, really excellent storytelling. And this is probably, I mean, there's definitely humor in it, but there's less jokes per square inch in this episode, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
And it still really holds up. And I think it's like you were saying, it's because of the character, it's because of the relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I was thinking this whole time, like, what a cool role for Nathan Lane.
Yeah.
Because also he's in a certain amount of episodes. He's in like, what, half the episodes of this series?
Yeah, it's like a couple of little scenes here and there.
And then he has like this episode where he's a main character.
Yeah.
And I mean, it will surprise no one that he's also pretty prominent in the next episode as well.
Yeah.
But
if you can believe it, we just flashed 5 years forward.
Yeah, it's weird.
Episode.
No, but like it's such a great role for, you know, such a great older character actor to have, because, you know, like you have a good few days of shooting, you're really prominent, but then like
it's a good gig. Yeah. Also, it's great casting against type, because everyone loves Nathan Lane.
Yeah.
Timon. You can't not like him.
Yeah. And he's played a lot of really, really likable characters.
Yeah.
I mean,
I love the Birdcage.
Yeah, it's real good. If you've seen him as Roy Cohn in Angels in America,
that's another.
Ooh, way worse than Teddy Demas.
Can I tell you one of the things that I also do, like another level of realism, and I might be sticking my neck out here.
Okay.
That I do enjoy is the fact that a theater producer is somehow linked to money laundering. I'm like, that does make sense. That is very realistic, actually.
Yeah.
Sad to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. It's midnight. I'm turning into a pumpkin goodbye.
No sound. My boy Bill.